as the story goes, they had just encountered a massive white shark. One fisherman said the shark was 115 feet long, and the other said it was 300 feet long.
God damn. That's God. Okay, be lying. So y'all was on the same boat, but one saw an 100-foot shark and one saw 300. Okay. All right, we got us a new video. We're reacting to Lindsay Nikole, I want to say it is. This is Megalodon is not still alive. Now, if y'all remember her from the Casual Geographic video, y'all told me I should react to her video. So here we are. I'm trying to see what y'all want. I'm giving y'all what y'all asked for. If hey, closed mouths don't get fed. If this not what you want, so then tell me what you want me to react to, man. Simple as that. But let's see, you know what I'm saying, what she talking about.
In the last few years, you might have seen any one of these videos about the Megalodon still being alive. Evidence of sightings. Threads about how they're probably somehow living somewhere in the Mariana Trench. This is all complete garbage, and actually inspired me to start a new series. This is episode 1. So, welcome to Junkspiracies, where we tackle animal conspiracies that are all based on a bunch of junk. Despite being debunked constantly, beaten to a pulp, some might say, this conspiracy is still very much alive and well. Videos on YouTube of like, top 10 videos proving the Megalodon's still alive. I get tagged in stuff on TikTok that's
SeaWorld is hiding the world's largest SeaWorld? Alright, come on, let's be for real.
It's like scientists proving that Megalodon is still alive constantly. And while I've debunked them multiple times on TikTok, I decided it was time to do it in an expanded format. So, buckle up. I'm gonna break down all the reasons why this conspiracy came to be, and all the reasons it is absolutely false. At some points, I'll probably get a little bit pissed off, because nothing pisses me off more than a bunch of junk. So once again, my name is Lindsay Nikole, and this is Junkspiracies. The Megalodon is still alive.
Okay.
Let's get the general information out of the way. If for some reason you've never heard of the Megalodon or know very little about it, I envy you, but today that will end. I'm gonna give you the neutral facts as an overview, so we all know what the fuck is going on as we move forward. Megalodon was a massive predatory shark that existed from like 23 to 3.6 million years ago. Maybe until 2.5 million years ago, but still, millions of years ago, nonetheless. They're the largest predatory fish to ever exist, that we know of, and might have had the strongest bite force of any animal alive ever, that we know of, with max estimates putting it at like 40,000 pounds per square inch.
Damn.
Compared to our puny 120 pounds per square inch, that is still powerful enough to bite off a pinky finger. 40,000, dude, they were not fucking around. That is fucked up. Most of the fossilized remains we found of them are teeth. They were not fucking around. That is fucked up. Most of the fossil...
The tooth was the size, damn near the size of that nigga's hand. This is a regular shark's tooth. Regular. The comparison is crazy. Like, think about it, chat. Our teeth are like this big. Imagine if you get a tooth that's this big in your mouth. Oh my. They can have veneers.
Fossilized remains we found of them are teeth. That's the deal with sharks, as we've talked about a couple times on this channel. But there are some really well-preserved skeletal elements as well, like jaw fragments. Their teeth have been found in most ocean basins and on every continent except Antarctica, and in some cases have been found embedded in the fossils of their prehistoric prey, whales and seals. So,
the teeth were found... Whales were their fucking... Wait a minute. God, them niggas was eating whales? They were eating whales?
Like jaw fragments. Their teeth have been found in most ocean basins and on every continent except Antarctica, and in some cases have been found embedded in the fossils of their prehistoric prey, whales and seals. So clearly they were tearing shit up globally for like 20 million years. And how about their size? I haven't told you.
So how does something of that size go extinct? Like, extinct? Like, I don't get how they just disappear. Like, you know what I'm saying? They can say, you know, the meteor wiped out the dinosaurs. But, like, that shit is in the ocean, and there is something always in the ocean to eat. There's still whales. Food shortages. Climate change.
Told you how big they were yet. In the last video I did on the Megalodon, I went a little more in depth on what they had going on and how scientists figure out how big they were using their teeth. If you want to learn more about that, check it out here. And also to learn about their only known competitor and potential predator, the Leviathan whale. Anyway, their max size estimates historically were like 80 to 90 feet. Those turned out to be way too big. So now they range between like 30 to 65 feet, which is likely the kind of size variation that existed anyway between individuals. So the Megalodon was a big shark. Also, their scientific name is Otodus megalodon. So their common name comes from their species name, Megalodon. You can either call them Megalodon or the Megalodon. I want to make it clear that when I say the Megalodon, I'm talking about a whole species and not just one fucking shark that some people think still exists in the Mariana Trench, a single shark that's been alive for like 3 million years. Anyway, in order to reach this level of supremacy, they evolved over the years as highly active predators. They're estimated to have been able to reach burst speeds of 23 miles per hour, and were partially endothermic, i.e. produced their own body heat, i.e. were warm-blooded, which means they had an appetite like nobody's business. And so they must have perused the more shallow coastal waters, where the vast majority of marine life exists today, in order to maintain their diet. I need you to remember all of this, because as we go through some of these conspiracy ideas...
so I kind of get what she's saying already, is that they had to live on the coast in order to, you know, but people are saying that it lives in that under, you know how they got that pool of water inside water? People are saying it lives deep within that, where the water pressure, so I already kind of get what she's getting at, because I was seeing those too.
I want us to be able to have shared moments of this idea is junk. These sharks were fucking bulldozers in the oceans, and the idea that they could somehow still be alive in an elusive, mysterious fashion today, 2024, is fucking insane. So, where did it all begin? What chain of events led us as a society astray? Buckle up, because this is nuts. Megalodon has been known to science since like the 1800s. And before that, actually, quick sidebar, before plate tectonics were like known as a thing, people would find shark teeth on hillsides or wherever, like away from the ocean, and they weren't registered as shark teeth because they were so far from the ocean. They thought these teeth kind of resembled human tongues, so they were known as tongue stones or the devil's tongue. And they would be placed in a village overnight, and then in the morning it would be like, oh my god, a devil's tongue, and it was seen as a bad omen, or like somebody had done something wrong, and it would just cause all this drama, like a witch hunt. And then years went on, and eventually some people were like, those kind of look like shark's teeth, and then others were like, that's insane, until eventually a Swiss naturalist by the name of Nicolaus brought proof of them in the form of a shark's mouth and said, tongue stones. And boom, tongue stones debunked. And megalodon teeth were included in those tongue stones. So, that's cool. That's one of my favorite things I learned in my paleontology class. So, thought I'd tell you. Anyway, megalodon had been known to science since the 1800s. And some of their fossilized teeth were even collected on the HMS Challenger back in 1875. Remember that trip that also found out the Mariana Trench is deep as fuck? Very big trip for humanity. But these teeth would also turn out to be a big deal and provide the first junk evidence for the continued existence of the megalodon. In 1959, a known cryptozoologist by the name Vladimir Chernetsky dated the teeth using a method that scientists quickly pointed out was all sorts of messed up. I don't want to go into it because there's a lot more I want to cover in this video other than the teeth, but if you want to read more on why the technique was messed up, check out this paper. This paper also provided a lot of other great information for this video. So anyway, the fucked up data...
I like how she's like, I don't know, I like this, because it's like, she's presenting it, like, but it's all edited in, but it's like, you're looking at the board, like, in school type shit. I like this. I ain't gonna lie, I like learning with y'all, bruh. Like, even though, like, it's reaction and this is kind of my job, but it's like, I'm also learning about animals at the same time. It's cool.
Dating technique led to Chernetsky to the conclusion that one of the teeth was 24,267 years old, and the other was 11,333 years old. He was off by millions of years.
Damn.
Well, I've done all I can do.
Even though multiple scientists disproved this technique later on, the damage had been done. And this was the first real start to the conspiracy that the megalodon is still alive. Dude, and I see people using these exact teeth as evidence to this day. Like, as if they were discovered yesterday. It's insane. But the biggest culprits of this conspiracy have been the sightings. And this is probably the side you're more familiar with as well. Despite the existence of whale sharks and basking sharks, you know, the other large, chill sharks alive today, any apparent sighting of a large shark bigger than your average gray white tends to get classified as hard megalodon evidence by your average clickbait conspiracy theorist. And this phenomenon can be traced all the way back to 1963, a book called Sharks and Rays of the Australian Seas by marine biologist David Steed. Is it Steed or Stead? Stead. Yes, marine biologist. And you bet your ass this story comes up on every proof video on YouTube because of that. I actually watched one of those top 10 fucking stupid videos on YouTube just to get my footing, and this is the first story that came up as like #1 proof. So now my entire feed is conspiracy videos, so this series is going to be thick. If you want it to be, let me know. Let me know if you want more conspiracy videos. Anyway, David retold this story in his book that he heard back in 1918 on an island off the coast of Australia. The story came from some fishermen who had a boat and some 3.5-foot wide lobster pots that could each hold a few dozen lobsters. Big pots, lots of lobster. As the story goes, they had just encountered a massive white shark. Not a great white, but a white shark. White-colored shark. One fisherman said the shark was 115 feet long, and the other said it was 300 feet long. Just to...
God damn! That's a big fucking difference. That's God. Okay, niggas be lying. So y'all was on the same boat, but one saw an 100-foot shark and one saw 300. Okay. Nigga, the megalodon didn't even get up to that big. So what the fuck? Okay.
Recap. There has never been an animal in the history of anything ever to be 300 feet long that we know of. Not even close. They said over the course of a few days, the shark would repeatedly come back, ate the lobster pots whole, and also took a bite out of the boat. And David, the marine biologist, said, hey, their sizes are a bit off, but the rest of it, I believe it. Sounds like evidence that the megalodon is still alive. And I'm a marine biologist, so I will put that in my book, case closed. Well, luckily, that paper I mentioned that talks about the teeth stuff also talks about this sighting. The author, by the way, is paleontologist Tyler Greenfield, and he found some interesting stuff. But let's cover the basic shit first. Okay. Like I said, the sizes are nuts. The biggest blue whale ever recorded was 115 feet long. Whale sharks alive today can get to like 60 feet long, but even if for some reason they exaggerated a whale shark size, the description and the behaviors don't match up. Great white sharks could potentially display behaviors like that, but they've only been recorded at max 23 feet long. They're also in the area, so they would be familiar with a great white shark, so then theoretically they would have said it's a great white. So none of it adds up. But turns out, there was also a newspaper article written about this sighting that Tyler mentioned in his paper. The article was written on January 30th, 1918, in the Sydney Evening News. In that same newspaper was a different article about a huge monsoon that had just affected the same area. Strong winds, flooding, classic monsoon shit is definitely powerful enough to damage some fishing equipment. But those damages could easily be seen as more avoidable or due to improper storage, putting the fault on the fishermen for the damages to the boat by some theoretical higher up of their fishing company. So with the storm in mind, what seems more likely? A record-breaking, giant, albino great white damaging the same boat over the course of a few days, or that the story was made up to avoid paying for the damaged equipment that the storm fucked up because you didn't store it properly. Hard to say. I know. Let me know what you think in the comments. It sucks that David was a marine biologist because it gave this story in his book immediate credibility. And that is what sucks about conspiracy theories. People can find one person, like one doctor or one scientist, who has an insane idea that goes against everything everyone else in their field knows to be true. And people will latch on to that one person because of the title they have. And like, yes, science is all about looking into crazy ideas, but a scientist with crazy ideas is not always right just because they're a scientist. And that is why the peer review process exists. So other scientists can analyze those ideas and figure out if there's any basis to them. Stop finding one person with credentials and thinking that everything they're saying is true if everything they're saying is going against what everyone else in their field knows to be true. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, let's move on. Because while that initial hypothesis has definitely added fuel to the fire, it seems a lot more reasonable to blame modern mainstream media for what this conspiracy exists as today. There's no doubt that fictional stories influence what people think is actually real. Like, dude, Ice Age was definitely telling us something. There are definitely dinosaurs living in the center of the earth, and the government is hiding it from us. Thank God Ice Age is telling us the truth. And that definitely happened with movies like Jaws, or the one that's really on the nose, The Meg. Yes, the 2.5-star movie is telling us something the government doesn't want us to know. Don't clip that. But what I'm actually much more disappointed in, and would imagine has done a lot more damage,
The Meg
is the fact
was good
that
to
10
me,
years ago, a fake documentary was made using photoshopped pictures, CGI videos, and actors hired to play the roles as scientists to claim that the Megalodon is still alive, and it was aired on Discovery Channel. There's a really good chance you've seen it. At the time in 2013, it was like their most watched Shark Week segment ever. It's called Megalodon, the monster shark lives. And it looks like every other documentary you'd watch on Discovery, except for a 2-second disclaimer at the end of the movie that doesn't really take any direct accountability for any of it being fake. I actually bought it on YouTube. It was like $3, just for context because I never saw it when it first aired. But the disclaimer wasn't on the YouTube version at all. They said they dramatized things to explore the legend, but what the fuck does that mean? Nothing, really. Despite being berated by thousands of people from multiple angles, Discovery doubled down and came out with a part 2 like the next year, titled Megalodon, the New Evidence, which was definitely the right decision for them to make.
Wow, why would they? What the fuck? Like, I get the clickbait and wanting to, but you're supposed to be the Discovery Channel at the end of the day. Like, you're supposed to be like the channel that spews the animal facts.
And I don't know at what point this happened because I could only find screen grabs of it, but at some point they put out a poll on their website to their Megalodon viewers asking if they think the Megalodon is still alive, and 70% said yes. 70%, dude. I just can't believe they did that. Honestly, it's just insane. Like, you claim to be a reliable science network and then you pull shit like that. I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna claim to be a reliable network, you should probably commit to that. I know I'm kind of ranting, but I think the main problem we can identify here is that we view channels like Discovery as a collection of scientists or people in science, because that's what their programming is about. But at the end of the day, people running Discovery are not scientists or people in science. They're not the people in your favorite Discovery show. They're people in entertainment. And people in entertainment generally don't give a shit about what's true or not. They care about what's entertaining. Part of me kind of feels bad for saying this, like maybe I'm being too harsh, but you know what? No, they had a nerve to make a sequel. Discovery, you have some fucking nerve. You deliberately misinformed millions of people and then doubled down. Shame, 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 shame. And like I said, I bought it because I had a sneaking suspicion that all of the proof videos I keep getting tagged in are clips from that documentary. So I watched it, well, skimmed through it, and what do you know?
You know,
my
they
hypothesis
fudged that
was
poll.
correct. So before I show you some of the most viral clips, I want to show you this guy, marine biologist Colin Drake, the star of the show. As you would suspect, he is not a marine biologist, but an actor from South Africa named Darren Meyer, who has a decently sized portfolio on IMDb. He got cast to play a role in a film, as actors do. Nothing wrong with that, but I want you to burn this image of him in your brain, so that next time you see new Megalodon proof, and he shows up, you can know it's a bunch of junk, in the factual sense. I'm gonna play a few clips from the movie, and let me know if they look familiar to you.
The video was shot by a father and a son who had come across a whale that had suffered a brutal attack. Now, the original footage was kind of hard to make out, but after studying it, and the amateur photos taken from the beach, you can clearly see a bite radius in the whale, and the bite radius is striking. There's only one underwater predator that would be able to bite the tail off of a whale this size, like has been done here.
What's the new evidence now?
A satellite photo near Sao Paulo. Well, during the initial investigation, the agent who was studying the swarm noticed something out in the water.
Okay, kind of a speck.
Yeah, well, at this resolution, it's a speck. When they zoomed in, though, they got this.
Boom. And you see the little Discovery Channel logo at the bottom. Oh my God.
It's a little fuzzy, but I'd say that's a shark.
Those are 40-foot buses, and when you compare them next to the first photo, I'd say that's a 70-foot shark.
I think they did the same thing with the mermaids, too.
You caught this.
Right. Yeah, I saw some shark go by that didn't quite fit in.
What'd you make of this thing?
Well, at first I thought it was a great white with some kind of skin condition or...
Drake, did you have the same initial assessment? What was yours?
Well, it certainly is the size of a great white, but there's more going on than just the skin. Take a closer look at its back. You can see bumps along its spine.
Right there on both sides, right?
Yeah, that's more than just an abnormality. That's a genetic structural difference in its cartilage, which suggests a much sturdier animal.
So in your estimation, this is not a great white?
No, the shark in Australia is not an adult great white, it's a baby megalodon.
Those videos have 92 million views combined on TikTok. And that's just from one repost of it each. They've been reposted so many times. And from the quick scroll I did in the comments, no one is aware of the fact that these came from a documentary Discovery aired that turned out to be fucking fake. No one is aware of the fact that they came from the worst decision Discovery ever made. I mean, why would they? Probably half the people who watched that TikTok weren't even sentient when it came out. So now it can make its rounds again in short form format. Of course, there's other forms of video evidence that make their rounds outside of the CGI from that movie. They're usually cases of mistaken identity, like this video that's been circulating since 2021. A giant shark spotted from a ship off the coast of Massachusetts. This is a basking shark, a giant shark alive today that is not the megalodon. I'm gonna take a swift guess and say that every video you see of a giant shark that people think is the megalodon is just a video of a basking shark. So what is a basking shark? The basking shark is the second largest...
That shark with the big ass mouth. I think I remember that.
...fish alive today that we know of, right after the beloved whale shark. Their scientific name is Cedorhinus maximus, which translates to great-nosed sea monster. Understandable, I must say. Like whale sharks, basking sharks...
Yep, that's the with the big ass... God damn, they got a fucking... They got a mouth. A mouth.
They're generally slow-moving filter feeders. I say generally because they tend to move at like 2 miles an hour. But then also, on rare occasion, they do shit like this.
God damn.
Yeah, dude. I did not know basking sharks breached until I started researching for this video. That was taken by a diver named Vanessa Bowe back in 2021.
That bitch is still huge, though. Holy shit. Like, it's not a megalodon, but that bitch is still big.
That's cool as fuck. Anyway, basking sharks are so cool. Their default mode of locomotion is slowly moving through the water with their mouths. Again, they have these gill rakers that line the insides of their mouths to catch krill and plankton. And like I said, they're the second largest fish alive that we know of and can get to about 33 feet long. Generally, they're seen alone. But obviously, from the video, groups are spotted from time to time. And I want you to take a guess on the size of the biggest group ever spotted. 10? No. 50? No. 100? No. 1,000? Close. 1,398. Dude, the proof is right here. I'm not making this shit up. 1,400 basking sharks found in a group. Nuts. But back to the reason I brought them up in the first place.
Oh, hell no. I'd actually fucking have a panic attack. Like, they not gonna eat you, but shit, I'd have I'd shit, bro. Big old turds.
Purpose of this video. So basking sharks are big, are less known than whale sharks, and I would also say don't have as much of a conspicuous silhouette as whale sharks do. Like, you see a whale shark from a bird's eye view, and you're like, that's a whale shark. Basking sharks, if you're not really familiar with them, kind of have a very general shark silhouette. Just generic big shark. I would say the classic shark from an aerial view has just a rounded or a slightly pointed snout, maybe like a tiger shark or a great white. And basking sharks kind of fall into that category, but look at the snout. It's very strong, powerful, apparent, hence the name great-nosed sea monster. So now you know. Hopefully if you come across a video of megalodon evidence, you can say basking shark. Boom, done. So to recap, all of the video evidence of the megalodon soiling the internet is either fake, i.e. photoshopped or CGI, or a case of mistaken identity and is probably a basking shark. But I know we can't stop there, because there's a chance you're thinking, okay, fine, well maybe all the evidence I've seen is fake, but what if we just haven't seen it? Let's refer back to paragraph 7 of this video, where I mentioned they were partially endothermic, which means they produced their own body heat. Producing body heat burns up a lot of calories. You do that every day, and the only way to restock calories as an animal is to eat. The megalodon was very big, which means they had a very big appetite in order to sustain their energy requirements, which means they must have been restricted to the areas of the ocean that have consistent, easy access to fulfilling meals. Coastal ecosystems. And there's fossil evidence to support this. The megalodon, like I said, was a fucking bulldozer, not an elusive shark. The most recent fossilized teeth come from over 2.5 million years ago, and we still have evidence of how much of a terror they were in the fossil record. Their teeth embedded in the bones of their prey. Dude, there is a fossilized whale found from 15 million years ago that bent its spine, and it was most likely caused by a megalodon attack, with a tooth as evidence. If we can see its destruction in the fossil record, we would absolutely be able to find proof of its existence today. Like, without a doubt, that is megalodon evidence. An individual that washed up on the beach, wounds on prey that escaped, carcasses of their successful kills, and not just that one fucking CGI video that makes the whale look like it's made out of rubber. Like, an abundance of evidence, and we would see them all the time. Okay, then there's also the classic question, well, what if they live in the deep sea? The Mariana Trench, perhaps. The deep ocean is like the Sahara Desert times 10. It is a hellscape. Generally, there's nothing for thousands and thousands of miles, with the occasional deep sea oasis that could be permanent, maybe near hydrothermal vents, or temporary, maybe a whale fall, but nothing large enough to sustain the megalodon as a species. It can't possibly be a single shark. It's biologically impossible. It's completely unsustainable for a massive, ultra-predatory species that used to live at coastal waters, preyed on whales that weighed, like maybe 6,000 pounds minimum. But let's just say they did evolve to live in the deep sea, where food is wildly inconsistent, the pressure is nuts. It might as well be the landscape of a different planet to adapt to. Let's just say they did. The amount of adaptations they'd have to go through to be able to survive down there, first of all, would probably be too drastic to have happened only over the course of 3 million years, but also would result in descendants that would be completely unrecognizable to the megalodon as we know it. They wouldn't be the megalodon anymore. I know there's a chance you feel like this doesn't make sense. How could such a
evolution? I didn't even take that into account.
A massive, successful predator be extinct if they were the best?
That's what a lot of people don't think about. Like, it's like people be like, oh, the megalodon's down there. Okay. So what would it have to do to survive down there? For so long, how would it survive without the food and the necessities? And people don't really think about that. They just know that there's another, and then they be like, there's got to be something down there. Yeah, there's probably something down there, but I don't think it's the Meg.
This doesn't make sense. How could such a massive, successful predator be extinct? If they were the best, why aren't they around anymore? Well, the reality is, their size only worked for them because of the conditions of their environment. Bigger is not always better. A larger size requires a massive diet, and a massive diet is a very sensitive one. The most successful lineages that have survived mass extinctions didn't do so because they were big, or the top predators. Actually, it has been pretty much the opposite. Generally, there's always exceptions to that, but in the
True. That actually is very much true. A lot of the bigger versions of a lot of the animals that we have now, they did not survive, even though they were the biggest. The smaller predators survived at a higher rate than the big ones.
Actually, it has been pretty much the opposite. Generally, there's always exceptions to that, but in the general sense, their ability to go long periods without food or survive off of small amounts of food has been the key to success during hard times. And evidence suggests this is exactly what happened. A global cooling took place at the end of the Pliocene, near the end of the road for the Megalodon. This led to thicker ice caps at the poles, which led to sea levels dropping all around the world, which meant the loss of many coastal habitats. Their prey species were having a tough time, which meant they were also having a tough time. And it seems as though the Megalodon might have been outcompeted by smaller counterparts. Yeah, the great whites. A single great white could get by on a much smaller amount of food than a single megalodon, and that is that. I know this might be a huge buzzkill. The megalodon potentially still being alive means there's still mystery in our world. It's fun to imagine that such big things haven't been discovered yet. The idea of them being alive is incredible, but the world is so much cooler than just the possibility of that. Some brittle stars can see without eyes. They have a whole different visual sensory network. Sponges in the deep sea look like alien lollipops. We're figuring out how to communicate with whales using AI. Basking sharks are huge and exist today and are not a danger to you. The current state of our ocean ecosystems is the product of 500 million years of evolution, shaped by apex predators like Anomalocaris, Mosasaurus, and the Megalodon. And while it might suck that they're not still alive, they still exist in the form of how they've impacted ecosystems over such a long period of time. The reality of our planet is so much cooler than our imaginations, and that is that. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video out on a disease that can only be compared to the Black Plague. Keep up with behind-the-scenes content and my Discord server and our Patreon. And for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya!
I like this. I'm subscribing, chat. Hey, if y'all don't watch her on the main, I'm moving her to the second. We watching this. If you want to keep watching her, watch these on the main. Because if not, we moving her to the second. But she gonna get watched. I like learning. We like learning on this side. W video. That was good. That was good. That was good.